Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of TerraVentures. We're starting things off back at our stadium project, and this has been a long-term project which I haven't really made much progress on. I know I said I would, but yeah, I've been busy doing other things, other big projects that actually would help this one. The concrete machine, for instance, the potion machine, for instance, both of those are going to be helpful for this big project. Now, as you can see, the bit of progress that I have made is trying to figure out where to put the gates in the corners. Now, the plan for this stadium, I know I'm going a bit off topic, is to build a second seating area is the word I'm looking for. So a seating area like this, however the entranceway would be from the bottom instead, so you'd enter from the bottom, so you'd come through, walk through, enter from the bottom, come up like this, and then there'd be some kind of wall here or some glassing, and up here is where the corporate boxes are, so the people who pay a lot of money to have a big box and they can entertain guests and whatnot, as well as the radio commentators, so they would be up on the second tier. And then of course we're thinking of having a third tier, which is a lot of building. A third tier, and that would probably be the final one. So what the gates really need to do is one of them needs to lead up to the third tier, which could be 30 to 40 blocks taller, or even more than that, because given that this is 63 here, and we're at 53 there, so that could be another 20 to 30 to even 40 blocks tall, and a lot of resources. Of course, obviously a lot of wood, a lot of andesite, a lot of concrete, a lot of terracotta. We need to make sure we get the gates right. The idea I had originally was to have two corner gates. So this one, for instance, and the one over there would be directly into a big ramp. So it would just go straight up like this, turn around and come angle back into here, and so on and so forth. So people could get into the top tiers. I'm not yet certain how that's going to work though. And then the ones that don't go up to the third tier, the diagonally opposite ones here, for instance, would be going to the second tier. But that's still quite a bit of work to do. So, quite a lot of planning. I need to figure out how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to not starve, how I'm going to build it all and get started on that. And with a lot of planning and a lot of building and trying again and ripping down and all that, we've finally got a corner tower. So what we've got here are the two corner towers, and then I've slowly edged these in by one block every single time there's a gate, and something similar on here. So it does end up being just right, although I think this isn't quite right. It does need, these ones need to go back by one block each to make it just right. But that can be quickly fixed. So what I really should do is replicate this on each of the other four corners, or at the very least copy and paste and see how I can put it in, fit it in, because every corner is slightly different, so it may require just a little bit of extra planning. But I think I've got the resources, so I'm going to start rebuilding this. Well, I'm going to start rebuilding the other ones on the other three corners, and hopefully we should get an idea of how this thing is going to look in a few minutes. Okay, after a lot of building, I've managed to get all of these gates finished. So if we just do a quick fly around, there we go, we took off. So we've got our gate 2, gate 3, gate 4, gate 5, 6, 7, and 8. All of these are slightly different. I think they each have 9 entranceway, which is a little bit off. And each of them is really slightly different to the other because I didn't really plan how I was going to do those. Let's just take a quick look at a map that shows it all. You can see here that this one up here, it's not the same line as here. These two are a little bit better, but these two here are definitely different. So that's a little bit of a bummer, but I can't really, I suppose I could change it and get it on the map exactly the same, but even in real life, the real thing isn't exactly the same on all four corners, and I do need a little bit more room on some of these than the others. So I do reckon that looks a lot better. So what I think I'll do now is start working on the gate numbers. So, I probably shouldn't have used rockets there. Yes, I want to start working on putting these things on all remaining of the 7 gates. So that shouldn't take too long. I hopefully have the yellow concrete in here somewhere. I just opened the same one twice here. So yeah, there's the yellow concrete. I've got all the thingamabob. I've got all the cyan terracotta ready to go in here, so that's probably more than I actually need. I'm starting to realize that this project is going to eat a lot more resources than I have, and if we want to take a look at that map again, it's probably bigger than the entire city I've got at the moment. So yes, let's just look at that. The entire one of this covers an entire couple of maps. These two here are just one entire map. So this project here is as big as the entire city I've built, which is probably a little bit disproportionate. But hey, it's a big project, and I'm really hoping that this is going to be the really cornerstone of my base. Right, just a bit of a progress update. As you can see, we've worked on the square boundaries. First, we've got our gates 1, 3, 5, and round here 7. Let's have a look at that one. 7. So now the corner ones, these are going to be just a tad harder, mainly because these are actually bigger than the other ones, or longer, at least in terms of distance, and I haven't yet worked out how I'm going to do it. I am thinking possibly of a straight diagonal line, and then working on the gate, putting the gate number on the diagonal, just like these ones over here, but that is to be tested. So let's try it on this one and see if that will work, and then if it does, I'll try and replicate it on the other 3 as well. After that's done, that should look a lot better, and I can work on the in-between gate bits, which should be a little bit different than the rest. Well, I've been building this up for just a little bit of time, and it's not quite worked out the way I hoped it would. As you can see, the diagonal is a good idea. However, I don't have quite the room here to fit in the last number, which is an 8, which is of course going to require a 3 wide area. I could go straight like that, but that's going to hide this thing. I don't want that to happen. So it looks like it's back to the drawing board. The other idea I had just now was to just go by 2, so 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and so on and so forth. So what I'll need to do is deconstruct this and rebuild it the way it needs to go. So let's try that second idea. And having a look at this, I'm pretty happy with the way it looks, although I have made a bit of a mistake. I actually forgot to put the line of cyan terracotta right at the bottom, so this thing is just a little bit lower than it should be. Also, you may note that there are points at which it is 3. So there's a 3 here and there's a 3 on the other side. So that will have to be rectified. But other than that, I think this looks pretty good. So let us get on with first correcting this, making sure it's all good, and then working on the other 3. And then that should be quite a bit of the stadium done. This actually looks pretty reasonable. So now that I've corrected it, there's 2 on each side. I've pushed the word up a bit, and that look is now in line with the rest of them. Now, obviously, I've still got to cover up the back of this, but that shouldn't take too long. So, in a few minutes, or a few seconds, at least as far as the video is concerned, I'll have all the rest of this done, and then we can finish off, or we can get started on the rest of building this up, and the walls, of course, which I know I mentioned I'll do. Okay, it took quite a bit of building, but we've got all 8 gates all set up. Now let's just do a Flyaround in instructions. We've got 1. Ow, that hurt. Okay, let's get back up. Hopefully I can actually fly out of here. Hey, there we go. So let's have a fly. We've got 2. And yeah, these corner ones aren't perhaps as good as these straight ones. There's 3 and 4. We really should fly out and come back in, but I'm pretty sure they look good. They look okay-ish, I guess. But anyway, let's just keep flying. 6, 7, and finally 8, the one we started with when we were doing this project. Okay, so now that we've got this, we should really work on these walls here. I don't want them to be just plain cyan terracotta, because on the inside it's going to look horrible, on the outside it's going to look just bland with just only a few colors on the outside, just the white, the cyan-ish, or I suppose you could call that grey, and then the extra grey of the concrete here, and then the yellow of the words. So I do want another color up here, and I'm thinking perhaps light grey, but we'll have to see how we go. While I work out how I'm going to do these in-between walls, I thought I might work out how I'm going to do the rest of this exterior walkways, and as you can see, I've decided to break up the stone and andesite with a bit of cobble, so that should stretch my resources just a little bit further. I have got myself quite a bit of each resource, although that one's empty. So I've got a bit of cobble, I've got some stone, some more andesite, some stone, and that one should be cobble as well. So let's just dump it down, fill myself up, fill my inventory that is, with some stone, some andesite, and some cobble, and that should be hopefully enough to get started on finishing up at least a fair amount of this, because I do not think all of this is going to go all the way around. It probably will get me to around gate 3 there, but we'll have to see. So let's get some of each resource into my hand and go from there. As I'm doing this, I do realize that this is just going to turn a whole lot more of my base into a huge spawning area, because all this area here is of course ocean, and ocean is not actually part of ocean can be a spawning area, so that is not exactly the best idea in the world, but rest assured I am going to try and light it up to the best of my ability as well. Which probably means a few more of those things just dotted about, but we're going to have to see. Right, so now that, well, I'm not quite out of resources, but I have gone quite a ways all the way up to gate number 3, which is of course only about 3/8 of the way around, and I did a bit on that side as well. So what we really need to do is put a fence on this side just to prevent people from falling off. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to have a different way to get around this that's not just walking, because obviously some people might go straight into the stadium and then walk in here, which is what I do not want. So I suppose I really should have expanded the city that way as well, but we shall see. So what we'll do is just put a spruce fence here, and we also need to work out on how we're going to decorate these bits, because at the moment it's just a very flat, very stone-like area. So we do need to put some greenery in, and I'm thinking a few flower beds, a few trees, just basically things to break it up. So green, maybe a bit of blue, but we do have a lot of blue in the ocean already. So that will have to be decided as we make this project continue. While I plan the outside, I've also decided to go with just a rather simple wall here. So there's just cyan terracotta here and the polished andesite slabs there. This, I don't think I'm going to go all the way up here. So when I get to the second and third levels, I'm going to have to figure out something different there. But I think for now, that is a pretty good solution. So what I'll do now is just shore up the walls in between every single one of these gates and go from there. So hopefully I've got enough polished andesite to finish this off. Right, now I've now worked my way about a quarter of the way around the stadium, or actually no, it's more like half. Let's take a quick peek actually. So we've done there, so we've got about, roughly half of the stadium. So we've still got 1, 2, 3, 4 segments to go. Anyway, what I'm thinking now is building a couple of food stands outside, and I'm thinking of just making this rather simple. So something like this, let's come across the front, and we'll use some quartz stairs here, I reckon. So something like that, cut that one out actually, like that, and then we can come up and something, this is just supposed to be something simple, and then I'll put a bit of a shade cloth on top of the front. So put that there, we'll bring this up by one more, and then we'll have some fences. Can I get the fence? There we go. Fence there and here, and then perhaps just a little bit of a tent coming over the front. So this should be a little bit of a food stand that people can purchase some food outside, and I'll build a couple of these. Maybe I'll build some other smaller ones and some bigger ones out of different materials. One thing I'm also planning to do is put in some lighting. So 1, 2, 3, and we want these 5 high, I believe, just like the others. 5 high, and 1, there we go, like that. So something like that. So a couple of these need to be built, and I need to get myself some more wool actually to finish up that building there. But a bit of light, and that should help with our spawning problems that we have at the moment. At the moment we've got quite a bit of mob spawning. And of course we need to prevent that from happening. So let's go like that, and that should come on in a few seconds when the light goes dark. There we go. Perfect. So let's build a couple more of these lights. Let's build a couple more of these things over here. And another thing I've also realized with this place is it's just very, very flat. So what I'm putting in here is a couple of pressure plates. These of course mean nothing. They don't actually have any redstone value, but what they do is just break up the flatness of this a little bit. So I'll put in some buttons as well, but the main aim of here is just to give a little bit more depth and character to this area. I may need to break up a few more of my regular stone, but we'll turn around in a few seconds when you've got up to the end. And here I'm just placing in a sort of random pattern. And that sort of looks okay, although it's pretty obvious where I've gone. So I might need to remove a few of these, like these, and basically remove anywhere there's a couple in a row right next to each other. Oh no, that's not good. Yes, as I was saying, just remove a couple of these that are close to each other and don't actually help the look of this. So we need to make sure this is relatively even. So there's quite a few more we need to get rid of without falling in. There we go. So one more there, a couple over here, I reckon. So I may have gone just a little bit overboard at the start over here, but that shouldn't be too hard to fix up. So let's put a couple more of these in, and then we'll do a couple of buttons, which are supposed to be just big stones that didn't get rolled in properly, I suppose. So a couple of these in. There's too many close by here. A button over here. We'll get rid of this one here and put it over here. Button. Yeah, so I reckon this is going to really give the area just a little bit more of life. As you can see, it's just breaking up the solitaire. That's not the word. The solitary location that this is just very, very flat, which is what I want to avoid. So even that is going to help. It's going to help break it up quite a bit more. And it's getting dark. I need to go sleep because I was attacked by a phantom in the last night. So let's just sleep and then see how this looks from in the daytime. And the answer is this place is starting to come together. Of course, there's still a very little color in the area, but that is going to help break it up a bit more. So we need a bit more color. We need a few more trees, I reckon, a few more plantings, like the sweetberry plantings, a few more probably rose bushes and other color, just more red, I suppose. And here we've got the blue of the ocean, we've got the green of the trees, although it's a rather dark green. We've got brown, we've got the grey and white, so we just need some red, I reckon, in here to break it up, to give a little bit more colour. So we might plant a few poppy beds, or rose bush beds, or even, as I said, the sweetberry bushes. So one in between these two trees would be good. So let's get our coloured andesite. No, not our coloured andesite, whatever this is, whatever this thing is. I forget the name. It is, let's have a look, where is it? It's granite slabs. So we need some dirt or some coarse dirt, which I have in here somewhere, I hope, and some flowers. So let's gather those up, put in a berry bush or a rose bush or a poppies or something that will break up the colour and see how that looks. So with all those things going on, with all the little shops being built, the trees, the little flower segments, I think I've got quite a bit to work on. I've also put in all the walls around here. It turned out I had just enough, cyan terracotta. I had just enough cyan terracotta to finish this off, although I haven't yet put in the polished andesite slabs. But this is just giving a bit more idea of the scale. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. So we'll have to see what we can do in the future. Unfortunately, that is all I've got time for today. So in the next few episodes and in between episodes, we'll be working on this stadium and a few other things. So don't forget to keep watching out for those ones. So of course, if you've liked this video and of course all the entire series, don't forget to keep watching out for the next one. So like, subscribe and all that. And see you soon. Goodbye.